I sent my sister $500 every week without fail. When my daughter turned 10, she didn't even text. No call, no gift. When I finally reached her, she laughed and said, "We don't really see her as family." I didn't argue. I just cut her off. I sent my sister $500 every single week for 3 years straight. Do you know what she sent my daughter on her 10th birthday? Absolutely nothing. Not a text, not a card, not even a half-hearted happy birthday on social media. When I finally called her genuinely confused because maybe something had happened to her phone, maybe there was an emergency I didn't know about, she actually laughed, like full-on laughed in my ear and said, "Oh, come on, Tracy, we don't really see her as family." I remember standing in my kitchen phone, pressed against my ear so hard it hurt, staring at the unicorn cake I'd stayed up until midnight, decorating. Because my daughter Mia had been talking about it for weeks, and I just went quiet. You ever have one of those moments where everything you thought you knew about someone just shatters? Where 3 years of sacrifice suddenly makes absolutely no sense. That was it for me. My name is Tracy. I'm 34, and I've apparently been funding my younger sister's entire lifestyle while she couldn't even acknowledge my kid existed. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me back up and tell you how this whole mess started, because trust me, it's worth hearing. 3 years ago, my sister Charlotte called me at 2:00 in the morning, sobbing so hard I could barely understand her. She'd just gotten divorced from her husband Marcus, and apparently he'd cleaned out their joint account before filing the papers. Left her with nothing but their lease and a mountain of credit card debt he'd racked up without her knowing. I remember sitting up in bed, my husband Derrick still asleep beside me, listening to her hiccup through tears about how she didn't know what she was going to do, how she couldn't even afford next month's rent. I'll help you," I said, barely thinking about it, because that's what you do, right? That's what family does. I'll send you money until you get back on your feet. Derrick squeezed my hand in the dark, supportive as always, even though we were still paying off my student loans and saving for Mia's college fund. Charlotte was my baby sister 5 years younger, always a bit more delicate, always the one everyone protected. Our dad passed away when we were teenagers, and Mom had drilled it into me, "You watch out for your sister Tracy. She needs you." So I started sending $500 every Friday like clockwork. At first, Charlotte would call me crying with gratitude, telling me she'd found a job at a marketing firm, that she just needed a few more weeks. Then a few more weeks turned into months. The grateful calls became quick texts. "Got it, thanks." Then just a thumbs up emoji. Then nothing at all. But I kept sending it because that's what I promised. That's what family does, right? Meanwhile, Mia was asking why we couldn't go to Disney World, like her friend Brooklyn's family, why she couldn't take dance classes and gymnastics at the same time. Derrick never complained, but I saw him checking our bank account more often. Saw the little line that appeared between his eyebrows when bills came due. We weren't struggling, not really. But that $2,000 a month would have changed a lot for us. Do you think I should have stopped sooner? Should I have seen the red flags? I tried to ignore the post Charlotte was putting on Instagram brunch at expensive restaurants with her friends, a weekend trip to Miami new designer handbags, when I gently brought it up once she got defensive real quick. "Tracy, I'm allowed to have a life. I can't just sit at home being miserable. That money helps with my basics, but I still have income too, you know." Except she never seemed to mention what job she was actually working, and I never pushed because honestly I didn't want to seem like I was controlling her with the money. I didn't want to be that person. My mom, Patricia, lives in Arizona, now retired, and spending her days gardening and playing bridge with her neighbors. She's always been more Team Charlotte than Team Tracy, probably, because Charlotte's the baby, probably because she's had a harder life. When I mentioned to Mom that I was helping Charlotte financially, she practically glowed with pride. That's my Tracy, always so responsible, always taking care of everyone. That felt good. I won't lie. Being the reliable one, the good daughter, even when it was draining our savings. But then Mia's 10th birthday came around. I had invited Charlotte a month in advance, sent her 3 reminders. The party was on a Saturday. Nothing fancy, just pizza and that unicorn cake and about 15 screaming 10-year-olds running around our backyard. Mia kept asking all morning, "Is Aunt Charlotte coming? When will she get here?" I kept checking my phone. No texts, no missed calls. I called Charlotte twice. Went to voicemail both times. The party came and went. Mia blew out her candles, surrounded by friends and grandparents on Derrick's side, but I could see her scanning the crowd looking for her aunt. That night after we'd cleaned up and Mia was in bed, I tried calling again. This time Charlotte picked up. "Hey, sorry, crazy day," she said, and I could hear music and laughter in the background. She was at a bar or a club, clearly having forgotten entirely. "You missed Mia's birthday party," I said, keeping my voice level. "Oh, was that today, Tracy? I'm so sorry. I completely spaced. Things have been insane. I'll make it up to her. I promise." "You could start by at least texting her. She's 10, Charlotte. She understands enough to know when someone doesn't care." There was a pause, and then Charlotte laughed. Not a nervous laugh, a genuine, almost amused laugh. "Come on, Tracy. Don't be so dramatic. Kids forget this stuff in like 2 days. Besides, we don't really see her as family like that. I'm her aunt, but it's not like we're close or anything. You guys live your life. We live ours. We don't really see her as family." Those words just hung there in the air between us. I could hear someone calling Charlotte's name in the background, telling her to come do shots. My sister, who I'd been supporting for 3 years, who I'd sacrificed for who I defended to Derek when he gently suggested maybe it was time to cut back, was telling me she didn't consider my daughter family. "I have to go," I said quietly. "Okay, tell me a happy birthday from me. Love you." She hung up before I could respond. I sat there on my couch, still holding the phone, and Derek came over and put his arm around me. "What did she say?" he asked. I told him word for word, and I watched his jaw tighten in that way it does, when he's really angry, but trying to stay calm for my sake. "You know what you need to do," he said simply. And I did. Oh, I absolutely did. But actually doing it, that was going to be harder than I thought, because cutting off Charlotte meant admitting I'd been wrong, meant facing Mom's disappointment, meant accepting that maybe the sister I thought I had didn't actually exist. But something had shifted in me during that phone call. Something fundamental. You don't get to take my money and disrespect my child. You don't get to live off my sacrifice while treating us like we're nothing. I didn't argue with Charlotte that night, didn't explain myself, didn't give her a chance to apologize or make excuses. I just made a decision right there, sitting on my couch with Derek's arm around me and my daughter's unicorn cake sitting on the kitchen counter with one slice missing. On Monday morning, I canceled the recurring transfer. 3 years of $500 every single week just stopped. And then I waited to see how long it would take Charlotte to even notice. It took Charlotte exactly 11 days to notice the money stopped. 11 days. 3 years of support, and she didn't even check for almost 2 weeks. When she finally did call, I was at Mia's soccer practice, sitting on those uncomfortable metal bleachers next to Derek. I saw her name flash on my screen, and my stomach dropped. You going to answer that?" Derek asked, already knowing the answer. I let it ring. She called back immediately, then again. Then the text started flooding in. "Hey, did you forget to send the transfer? Tracy, the money didn't come through. Can you resend? Tracy, I have bills due. What's going on?" I waited until we got home, until Mia was in the shower, before I finally called her back. "Oh, what the hell, Tracy?" Charlotte's voice was sharp. All that sweet baby sister energy completely gone. "I've been waiting for that money. My landlord is threatening to evict me." "I stopped sending it," I said simply. Silence. Then, "What do you mean you stopped? You can't just stop. I'm counting on that money." "For 3 years, Charlotte, I helped you for 3 years, and you couldn't even send my daughter a text on her birthday." "Oh my God. Are you seriously still on that I said I was sorry? You're going to ruin my life over a kid's birthday party. A kid's birthday party. Not even using Mia's name." "I'm done," I said. "Figure it out yourself." "Tracy, wait." I hung up, and then I blocked her number, because I knew what was coming next. The manipulation, the tears, the guilt trips. I'd seen Charlotte work this magic on everyone our whole lives. Not this time. What I didn't block were the calls that started coming from my mom 2 days later. "Tracy Marie, what is going on?" Charlotte called me hysterical. "She says you abandoned her, that she might lose her apartment. What happened to being there for family?" "Do you think I should have just told my mom everything right then?" I tried to explain the birthday. The comment, the 3 years of money disappearing into Charlotte's lifestyle while we sacrificed. But Mom cut me off. "So you're punishing her for one mistake. Tracy, she's your sister. She's struggling. You of all people should understand that family comes first." "My daughter is family too, Mom." "Oh, don't be so sensitive. Charlotte loves Mia. She's just busy. She's going through things." "She said Mia isn't really family," I interrupted. "Her exact words, Mom. We don't really see her as family." Another pause, shorter this time. "She didn't mean it like that. You know how Charlotte gets when she's stressed." And there was the same excuse I'd heard my whole life. Charlotte gets a pass because she's stressed, because she's sensitive, because life is harder for her somehow. Never mind that I'd lost the same father, dealt with the same struggles, and somehow managed to build a life without treating people like ATMs. "I'm not changing my mind," I said. "Then you're being selfish," Mom said, and hung up on me. My own mother hung up on me for not continuing to bankroll my sister's life. I won't lie, that hurt. I cried in Derek's arms that night, wondering if I was actually the villain in this story. But Derek, bless him, just held me and said, "You know what Charlotte's problem is? Nobody's ever let her fail. And now she has to learn." The next few weeks were quiet, too quiet. No calls from Charlotte or Mom. My Aunt Susan Dad's sister, who lives in Oregon, called once to mediate. But when I told her the full story, she just sighed and said, "Your mother never could see Charlotte clearly. I'm proud of you, honey." That helped a little. Then about 6 weeks after I cut Charlotte off, something surprising happened. I was at Target with Mia letting her pick out new school supplies when my phone rang. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Tracy." Mom's voice was different. "Can we talk?" "I'm listening." "Charlotte came to visit me last week. Showed up at my door at midnight, wanted money for rent. Said you'd ruined her life, and I needed to help." Here we go, I thought, Mom calling to guilt me into resuming the payments. I told her no, Mom said. "Wait, what? I told her no. And then I sat her down and we had a very long conversation about the last 3 years, about where all that money was actually going, about her priorities." Mom paused. "Tracy, did you know she's been working part-time at a boutique for the last year, 20 hours a week. She told me she couldn't find full-time work, but when I pushed, she admitted she didn't want to work more because it would interfere with her social life." I was standing frozen in the school supply aisle, Mia tugging on my hand, asking about sparkly notebooks, and my mother was finally seeing what I'd been dealing with. "She's been taking advantage of you," Mom continued, "and I enabled it by making you feel obligated. I'm sorry, Tracy. I'm so sorry." I actually had to sit down on the floor right there in Target. Mia looked concerned, but I just pulled her close. "What did you tell her?" I managed to ask. "I told her to get a second job, that the gravy train was over, that she's 29 years old and it's time to grow up." Mom's voice got softer. "And I told her what she said about Mia was unforgivable, that if she wants any relationship with this family going forward, she needs to start acting like family actually matters." You could have knocked me over with a feather. My mother, Queen of Team Charlotte, had finally drawn a line. How did she take it? Mom laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. About as well as you'd expect. Lots of tears, lots of accusations, but I didn't budge. She left yesterday. I haven't heard from her since. We talked for another 20 minutes. Mom apologized 3 more times, told me she was proud of me for setting boundaries, asked about Mia, really asked in a way she hadn't in years. It felt like I was getting my mother back. But here's the thing about consequences. They don't work if they're temporary. And what happened over the next few months would test everyone involved, including me, because Charlotte wasn't done yet. Not even close. And honestly, neither was I. Because when she finally came crawling back, when her situation got really desperate, I had a choice to make. Would I be the bigger person, or would I let her really feel what it's like to be on her own? What do you think I did? 4 months later, Charlotte got a second job. Mom called to tell me, practically glowing with pride. "She's working at a restaurant now, Tracy. Lunch shifts at the boutique, dinner shifts, waiting tables. She's really trying." Good for her, I thought, but I stayed quiet because honestly, I was still hurt. The fact that my sister needed to hit rock bottom before acting like an adult didn't exactly inspire forgiveness. 2 weeks later, Charlotte texted. I'd unblocked her number, and now I was staring at her message. "I know I messed up. I got Mia a birthday present. I'm 5 months late, but can I drop it off?" I asked Mia what she thought. My daughter shrugged. "I guess if she wants to." Charlotte showed up that Saturday looking different, tired. No designer bag, no makeup. When Mia opened the door, Charlotte's eyes filled with tears. "Hey, kiddo, I'm really sorry I missed your birthday." Mia stared at her. "You didn't miss it. You forgot about it." Charlotte flinched. "You're right. I forgot, and that was really wrong." She held out a wrapped box. "This doesn't make up for it, but I hope you like it." It was an art set, the expensive kind Mia had wanted for months. My daughter's face lit up despite herself. We had coffee, awkward conversation. Charlotte told us about her 2 jobs, her tiny studio apartment, her roommate Jasmine, who worked 3 jobs and volunteered. "She made me realize how selfish I'd been," Charlotte said. She didn't ask for money, didn't make excuses, just sat there looking uncomfortable, then left after 30 minutes. Do you think that was enough? Would you have let her back in that easily? Over the next months, Charlotte kept showing up, once every few weeks, always with something small for Mia, a book, art supplies, museum tickets. Never expensive things, just thoughtful ones. She never asked me for anything. And slowly I started to soften. Then came Thanksgiving. Mom invited everyone to Arizona. Derek thought we should go. Mia should see her family together, he said. Charlotte was already there helping Mom cook. She looked healthier. When she saw us, she hugged Mia first, then me. "I'm glad you came," she said quietly. That weekend late at night, Charlotte and I ended up on Mom's back porch. "I was jealous of you my whole life," she said. "You had everything together. Perfect husband, perfect kid, and I was just floundering. The money you sent wasn't just about survival. It was proof I needed you, that I couldn't do it alone." I stayed quiet. "When you cut me off, I hated you, blamed you for everything." She laughed bitterly. "It took me 2 months of 70-hour weeks to realize you were right, that I'd been using you, that I'd been a terrible sister and worse aunt. Charlotte, I don't expect you to forgive me, but I want you to know I'm trying, not for money. I don't want your money anymore, Tracy. I want to be someone Mia can look up to, someone you can be proud to call your sister." Under those Arizona stars, I finally let go of my anger. "I never stopped being proud of you," I said. "I was just waiting for you to be proud of yourself." We both cried, hugged, started over. It's been 8 months since that Thanksgiving. Charlotte still works. 2 jobs, pays her own bills, has her own place. She sees Mia twice a month, never misses important events. She calls just to talk, not because she needs something. Mom apologized 6 more times before I told her to stop. She finally sees that helping someone sometimes means letting them fall. Is our relationship perfect? No. There's still tension sometimes, moments when I remember those 3 years and feel that flicker of resentment. But we're family. Complicated, messy, imperfect family. Derrick was right. Charlotte didn't need my money. She needed to learn she could survive without it. And I needed to learn that boundaries don't make you a bad sister. They make you a strong one. So that's my story. What do you think? Did I do the right thing? Should I have cut her off sooner? If you enjoyed this, please like the video. And if you disagree with how I handled things, I really want to hear your thoughts in the comments. What would you have done? Thank you so much for watching.